PurpleElla is way more popular than me, and her stuff is usually very straightforward, and I like that. So this is her video about burnout that just came out 10 months ago, and I want to watch it and let you know, from a science burnout expert perspective, how much she hits on.
Burnout is a state of physical and mental exhaustion. Burnout can happen to anyone, but
yes, burnout is a state of physical and mental exhaustion. In the actual science, the technical definition is that burnout is defined by emotional exhaustion, decreased sense of accomplishment, and decreased sense of and depersonalization. Those are the actual technical definitions, but yeah, when you experience it, it just feels like exhaustion. It just pours all out of you. So, I mean, yes, she's right. It's just not the technical thing, but I'm being pedantic, but that's kind of what I'm here to do. So, like, there you go.
It's more likely to happen if you're autistic because of the challenges we face navigating a world that wasn't designed for us. For
Bingo, nailed it.
autistic people, burnout can, as well as causing exhaustion, lead to a loss of skills. For example, an autistic person who could previously talk might lose the ability to speak, or somebody who was able to work completely independently might find that they can no longer do so. I asked the members of my YouTube club, the Purple People, whether they had experienced autistic burnout and how it felt for them.
Great. In fact, the primary way of studying autistic burnout has been to crowdsource the responses. Hey, autistic people, what do you do?
Kat said, I believe that I'm in burnout, or on the edge of it. I'm having lots of meltdowns. It feels like every minor challenge is a huge setback, and my capacity to cope with even the smallest of challenges crashes. I experience brain fog, which really impacts my concentration. Things like spatial awareness and my sensory issues take a hit too, so I find myself walking into things a lot.
Me too.
Miro told me, my chronic burnout started at university. My social anxiety skyrocketed. My masking started to wear heavily on me. Prolonged burnout from stress and anxieties caused me to develop chronic depression. Even when I didn't feel depressed, I was unable to enjoy things which otherwise brought me pleasure. Beth told me, when I got burnout, I just slept. I couldn't eat or motivate myself to do anything, but not like depression. It just felt exhausting.
Yeah, the difference between burnout and depression, a lot of people ask us about this. My experience of the difference between burnout and depression is that with depression, my most severe depression, I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't want to do anything. I didn't even want to do anything. I knew that was missing from me, but I couldn't even want it back. This is a key difference for me. What she's saying, like, it's not like depression is just exhausting, but you couldn't motivate yourself. When I was burnt out, I wanted so desperately to do the stuff. I wanted it, and I just couldn't. Depression, don't even wanna. Burnout, wanna, but can't.
I shared that. When I get burnout, I just go to bed and sleep for ages and hug my dog until I feel better and have energy to do things again.
Rest. Absolutely, if you do nothing else in response to burnout or stress, let it be getting more rest.
When I look at my own life, I feel like I've experienced burnout, particularly in the last 10 years, as life has got more complex with being a parent, having a job, navigating more difficult social situations. I also think that being neurodivergent, as well as physically disabled, leads to me experiencing burnout more easily. I noticed during lockdown that I had a period where I just felt really flat and I couldn't motivate myself to do anything, which is not like me because I'm normally quite an energetic, optimistic, enthusiastic person. I
do want to add here, though, that I didn't develop chronic illness until the past year and a half. And even in the past year and a half, when I have been dealing with chronic illness, I have not burned out because there are strategies you can implement and ways you can start to like reshape your life that can prevent burnout, so that even if every circumstance about your life stays the same, the structure around it can prevent burnout.
Used to feeling so negative. I realised that I'd been living an unsustainable life, trying to...
It's so nice that she's not used to feeling so negative. I'm such a pessimist and such a cynic and such a skeptic. Like, I'm totally used to feeling negative, but it's so sweet and endearing that she's not used to feeling negative. But yeah, she realizes she's living an unsustainable life. I am so sorry, PurpleElla, for pausing on that frame. It's sorry.
Do it all and then just living with the consequences.
Yep.
And whilst I understand that I'm someone that needs more rest, less social encounters and a reduced workload, it was really hard for me to actually implement that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Additionally, the effort of masking my autism or trying to fit in was definitely contributing to my burnout.
Yeah. The difficulty of implementing a lifestyle of a smaller workload and all that stuff she said is not just a matter of like, I'm autistic, therefore change is hard, but the system that is created, basically capitalism, says that everyone's supposed to work these hours, everyone's supposed to have this much energy and be able to produce this much. So there's a lot of pressure on how to do it. So the fact that she found it difficult to implement is not a surprise at all. The only way to make that kind of change that creates a lifestyle that is not the standard one that's expected by, exploitatively capitalism is to surround yourself with people who are going to help and support you in making those changes.
It's a huge amount of effort to ignore your natural instincts of how to behave and instead try to modify your behaviour and your reactions to be more in line with what you observe as being socially acceptable.
Yes, it is. Masking is a huge energy expenditure exactly for that reason.
Sensory issues are also a factor. Since I was unaware of my autism for such a huge chunk of my life, I was dealing with those sensory issues without being aware of them or having any strategies for coping with them. Even when I got my diagnosis and learnt about my sensory issues, it took me some time to connect the sensory issue with the consequence. So I
just love how her eyes light up about when I got my diagnosis. I feel totally the same way.
Didn't necessarily realise that the meltdown was the result of being in a really busy, noisy, bright room, or that I felt really anxious because my jumper was really itchy. This crazy year with its frequent lockdowns. Side note, if you're watching this and the pandemic is over, hurrah! So this crazy year has given me the time and the space to experience the benefits of a reduced pace of life. But if anything, I was feeling even more tired. And I think that's because having given my body and my brain a chance to rest, it was able to acknowledge its level of exhaustion because up until then I had been running on adrenaline. For me,
exactly, this is literally what happens in the science. So on a smaller scale, if you take a nap in the afternoon and you wake up and you're just more tired, it's because you were so sleep deprived before that your body was pumping out adrenaline to push you through so you could carry on to compensate for your sleep deprivation. And as soon as you get a little bit of rest and your body thinks you're ready to handle the sensation of how sleep deprived you are, it stops compensating and you start to actually feel as tired as you actually are. That is literally what happens. Nailed it on the science.
Entering a state of adrenaline is very bad. And what I mean by this is when you ignore your tiredness signals and you push on through regardless. This would lead to adrenaline surges, giving me spikes of energy and an extremely wired feeling. A little bit like drinking way too much caffeine. Then when I stopped pushing through, my brain and my body crashed hard. I would experience surges of adrenaline, panic attacks, anxiety, nausea, brain fog, headaches. So I'd go to bed.
All that energy that you suddenly have because your body's like, you're so tired, but you can't feel that tired right now. There's too much going on. Does not always manifest as like, oh, I'm getting so much done. Sometimes all that extra adrenaline and stuff manifests as anxiety, nervousness, because adrenaline doesn't just do one thing.
Get up and start the whole cycle again. I was using this adrenaline state to cope with many aspects of my physical disability and my neurodiversity for many, many years, which essentially led to a severe burnout, which I'm still working to recover from. I couldn't find any official studies or information about autistic burnout because this is an area that's really being led by the autistic advocacy community and autistic...
I just want to say, I have a resource for you. It's called Burnout, the Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. It's not specifically directed toward autistic people, but oh my God, there's so much in there that applies. Okay, just saying.
People themselves speaking about their experiences of burnout. So I found it very difficult to find information on how to prevent and recover from burnout. So I headed to Twitter to crowdsource some information, and this is the advice that I was given. Bluebird Louise advised, everything we see, hear, taste, carry, wear, do, etc. contributes to the mental load. If you know you have to add something extra, you need to take something away to increase your capacity.
That is true, but it is more difficult than it sounds because of the external pressures we feel to meet everyone's expectations and to do all of the things. And the only way you can feel like you deserve to take things off your list in order to put on something that you find more valuable is to believe that you are worthy of doing less. Even you are just as valuable a human being, even if you are less productive. And that takes help. Other people protecting you and reminding you, yes, 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 you deserve that time. We love you and will always protect you and care for you, no matter how little you do on a single day.
Sarah Douglas added, work out what you can do in a sustainable way. And if you're in recovery from burnout, halve this to get a baseline to work from. This is something that I can definitely attest to. I have a real tendency to just add extra stuff to my schedule without considering the impact that that's going to have on my capacity for the day.
You guys, is PurpleElla calling me out? Is PurpleElla from 10 months ago calling December Amelia out for exactly what happened to me this week? On Monday, I was just like, I'm going to go to Target and take a bath and wash my hair, and then I'm going to do a gig for an hour, and then a tech check for a half an hour, and then I'm going to make a video. Yes, even though I have going through a speech and cognitive therapy, where I'm like learning how much energy a thing takes and how to schedule in a realistic way. Still need practice.
Moving forward, I think it's a really great idea to work out your daily capacity limits. You could do this by using energy accounting, which I've talked about in a previous video, and I'll leave a link in the description box for you to check that out. Yes. And then you should aim not to let daily tasks and appointments go above that capacity level. If you're in burnout, that daily capacity level needs to allow time for extra rest and recovery.
Not just extra rest, because for some people, rest is not the thing they need. For some people, they need to change gears and do another kind of work, or they need to complete the stress response cycle by, making sure they connect with people who care about them, or by doing more physical activity. Sometimes rest is not the thing you need. Sometimes it's, getting in touch with your hobbies or attending a convention of your fandom. But yes, you need to add more of the things that refuel you, and there are more things that refuel you than just rest.
Puzzling offered this suggestion: use your strategies even when you feel okay. I think this is great advice. It's really easy to forget to implement your usual strategies like sensory diets and energy accounting when you're feeling okay.
I'm sorry, PurpleElla, I failed. My name is Amelia, and I failed to do my energy accounting properly this week. Oops. Sorry.
Experiencing any negative symptoms, it's easy to just keep ploughing on through. Using strategies in an ongoing way is a much healthier habit rather than ploughing on through and then experiencing a crash.
That said, the idea that I should plow on through and it's better to plow on through than to do my energy accounting properly doesn't necessarily come inherently from inside us. That push to do more than we're capable of usually comes from context, from social pressures that say that you are only worthy of existence if you are X amount of productive. And so what it takes to actually remember to do that is to be surrounded by people who will uplift and support you and remind you that you deserve to maintain your boundaries, that you, because they love you and they value your existence and your well-being as much as you value theirs, then yes, do the energy accounting. Yes, get enough rest. Make sure you're doing the things that refuel you enough to balance the things that drain you. It takes help. You can't just be like, you should do this. You should do it, but the only way to do it is to make sure you have help.
Flippy Grows said, mindfulness meditation to recenter your parasympathetic nervous system. Exercise is supposed to help too.
Yes,
Having spent some time doing mindfulness meditation, I would definitely agree that it helped to keep me calm and regulated.
Yeah.
But I confess, I found it hard to implement it as part of my daily routine, partly because I find it really boring. So instead, I try to do some of my activities mindfully.
Yeah, that is big truth. That is big truth, especially for people who also have ADHD. Or my sister, who has her physical body awareness is so overwhelming that for her, doing even slow moving meditation like Tai Chi is so boring, because she already gets so much information from her body that she needs to be much more in motion when she does mindfulness. Because I have alexithymia, it takes me forever to hear and then interpret body signals. I love Tai Chi because of how slow it is. And when I first watched it, I thought, it's so slow, nothing's happening. And then I learned how to listen a little bit to my body, and I went, this is way too fast. I can't keep up with everything that's happening. So if just, sitting calmly and meditating does it for you, great. But if it doesn't, don't feel bad. That's totally normal. So yes, do something active with your body and do it mindfully, paying attention to what is happening in the moment without judging it, just attending to it.
I'll do my yoga or my daily dog walk entirely focused on the moment that I'm in.
That is
and
the
this
point of
feels
yoga,
like a
yes.
good compromise. Danielle.
It's not a compromise. It's not a compromise at all. It's not a compromise, PurpleElla. You're not doing it wrong. You're not giving up anything. You are doing it exactly right. That is a totally legit approach to mindfulness.
I started staying up to watch my favourite 2 movies over and over again while knitting. The alone time was imperative.
The 1995 production of Pride and Prejudice on the BBC with Colin Firth and Jennifer Ely. It's my go-to, comfort movie. And it's 4 or 5 hours long, so it's a solid retreat from the real world.
I think this is great advice. Doing things that we're really familiar with, like watching the same TV shows or movies, or doing activities that we know inside out, take a lot less energy and effort than new things, and can be really calming and comforting.
Yes, especially for people who are autistic, who tend to be change averse. We tend to want a schedule and some repetition and some structure and some reliability. And I think it's especially, everybody likes to go curl up with their favorite movie and eat some popcorn and chill, but I do think that it's especially true for autistic folks.
Finally, several people reminded me to learn to be comfortable saying no. And this is definitely something I've been working on, because I used to be really bad at not just people pleasing and agreeing to everything. But I'm proud to say I have gotten a lot better at this recently.
Learning to say no and set boundaries is not an issue of you being a failure. I can't say no. I must be a terrible, weak person that I can't say no to stuff. No. You've been taught by society that you owe everyone around you your time and your life and your body. So your incapacity to reject or refuse something or to set a boundary and say no is not because you have failed. It's because society has told you that is in fact what you owe the universe, that you have a moral obligation to give everything you have. And unlearning that systemic training, that's really hard. And to have made any progress at all in the direction of rejecting the larger scale narrative and internalizing your own sense of what is right and how much you deserve the care that keeps you healthy and well and wise. That takes help. Again, this is another one where you can't just be like, learn to say no. Okay, but how? How you learn to say no is by believing deep in your heart that you deserve your boundaries, that you deserve care and rest and time for yourself, and holding on to that deep in your heart against the pressure of the whole universe telling you that you're supposed to be productive. It takes help. You need to surround yourself with a bubble of love, with people who care about your well-being as much as you care about theirs, and they will turn to you and remind you that you are worthy of care and resources, and they will help make sure that you have access to them, so that you come to a moment where you're like, I have to turn this down. I believe that this is the right thing to do because I believe that I don't owe everyone in the world my time and my life and my body. I believe that I also am worthy of resources.
And it really does help. When you carefully consider whether you have capacity to invest energy into something before you agree to do it, then that means that you are investing your time and your energy in the things that are important to you. And that's a really good thing.
It's a really good thing. And I love the fact that she is now part of the bubble of love, telling us that we deserve resources for ourselves. Oh, thanks, PurpleElla. You're part of my bubble. Yay! Thanks for reminding me that it's good for me to take the time to do the things that I need to care for myself.
Okay to be in charge of your own agenda and how you...
Yes, it is in charge. It is okay to be in charge of your own agenda. It's okay for me to be in charge of my own agenda. It's okay for you to be in charge of your own agenda. Let's keep telling each other that, because that's the only way to fight the larger scale cultural message that says that that's not true.
You spend your limited energy, especially if it means avoiding burnout. I think
it is the only way to avoid burnout. If you want to avoid burnout, you need to relearn your worthiness, and that your value and your inherent dignity as a person does not come from meeting other people's expectations. It comes from the love you share and the care that you share with the people around you, and you don't have to meet anybody else's standards to deserve that or to earn it.
That many autistic people, particularly those of us diagnosed later in life, find it really difficult to structure our lives in a way that suits us whilst living in a world that wasn't designed for us. It can be hard to figure out what we need or whether we're headed towards burnout. Sometimes it can even be hard to recognise that we are in burnout. So I hope that this video has been useful in...
It's hard to recognise until you're in the hospital and they're like, do you have any stress in your life? And you're like, well, I'm in doctoral school full-time, commuting 65 miles each way, and I have 4 part-time jobs, and I'm married, and I have 3 teenage stepchildren. So yeah, you could say that I have some stress. Yeah, it can be hard to notice. Yes, and how you come to notice, especially if you find it as difficult to notice your internal sensations as I do, because alexithymia is also a thing. Learning how to listen to your body is how you prevent that. That's a whole other thing.
Identifying what burnout is and giving you some pointers on how to avoid it. If you did find the video useful, please click the...
Yeah, go, click and follow. PurpleElla is pretty well known in the autistic community. I started with PurpleElla because I knew she was going to do a good job, calling me out on my own things I have to learn. And I just added some science in there so you would know, the stuff she's saying, of course it's true, but there's reasons that it's true. And the stuff she's saying that's true and sounds so easy, but isn't easy, what is it that's standing in our way? So that's my reaction to PurpleElla's burnout video. If you have other autistic YouTube creators who have burnout videos that you want to see me respond to, I really like doing this because creating community where we all talk and share our experiences, the kind of crowdsourcing, this is one of the best ways that autistic community can make sure that we all feel seen and cared for. So that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow.